What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin.
And we have yet another album review for you, and another one that came out on the 5th of May that was definitely on our radar. We're both fans of their first one, and we were eager to see what sort of insanity that they would craft for their sophomore release. We are going to go over the latest offering from Nightmare, Deformity Adrift. Again, this comes out on the 5th of May on Total Distance Worship Records. This band formed in 2013 in both Tampa and Germany, technically. I think they are just pretty much in the U.S. and Germany now because all the members have moved around. This is almost more or less a studio project. It features current and former members of bands like Gigan, The Ocean, Conquering Dystopia, and War from a Harlot's Mouth. And describing their sound, bottom-heavy, disgusting chugging, dissonance,
atmosphere,
nightmarish hellscape, and chugging and brutality. This is some ugly, dark death metal.
I mean, it sounds straight up like a nightmare, to be honest. And
yeah.
A nightmare that you can't escape from. And you are paralyzed. And whatever is coming for you is coming slowly, but it's terrifying.
And it's going to gnaw your face right the fuck off. Honestly, you're going to see some parallels between this band and Portal, because they kind of have a similar ethos, just, this band has less costumes.
Yeah, if you're fans of Portal, or bands like Ulcerate, Meshuggah, of course, or even Vildyarda.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it gent because it's not, but It's got the bottom-heavy sounds like gent bands do, like that really bottom-heavy droning chug.
Yeah, these guys are kind of known for their just immensely down-tuned guitars. We're both fans of Cacophony of Terror, their first album. I brought it up recently in Estates Metal for Florida.
It's in one of my What's John Jammin'. That record is fucking sick.
Yeah, I picked it up on a whim years ago, and when I put it on, I was like, man, did they add like 2 more strings to these guitars? Dude, this is just fucking dense. And that is continuing on in this one. The overall sound of this is so thick, so dense. Like, this album has the fucking gravity of a collapsed fucking star. And within this collapsed star, there are like demons lurking because this is dark and creepy. The opening track, Brutalist Imperator, kicks off with like just insane drums, which the drum work in here is absolutely fucking fantastic. These bottom-heavy chugs, and behind that, just these nightmarish fucking dissonant guitars. Like, they're not necessarily generating like a melody, more so just contributing the fact that we want to make you uncomfortable, and these are the creepiest sounds that we could make at the moment to pair off with these massive chugs.
Yep, how can we make this guitar sound gross? Oh, here's how.
Yeah, add a string on top that has the thickness of a hemp rope.
Yeah, pretty much. And vicious, snarling, growling vocals.
I love the vocals on here. Not only is he intelligible, and where he sits in the mix, like, it's just slightly overpowered by the guitars, but it kind of adds this ominous sort of vibe to it. They're very throaty and very dry. Occasionally you get some higher screams on there, but most of the time it's this just evil fucking roar.
Get into songs like Throw of Illicit Withdrawal and Suffering Beyond Death. Both those songs have absolutely pummeling, suffocating breakdowns. Like, normally when you talk about breakdowns in metal music, you think, boy, that's heavy and there's some groove to it. This is beyond that. This is the sickest, most gross, fucking gnarly breakdown I think I've heard at least this year. As far as there's no way to really I can't really describe it. It's so fucking heavy, you can feel it.
It utilizes both like just what they're playing and in terms of like how it's recorded. Again, this is like dense. It's so thick. There's not really a moment on here where there isn't some sort of like background drone of some sort of evil, creepy fucking noise or distant guitars. But when it comes down to these breakdowns, letting the tone ring out, like, it's just ungodly heavy. And generally behind there you have like some synths or samples. You have a growl. The bass on here is while not like super distinguishable for the most part, bottom heavy. The giant size bottom end that it adds to it just makes this just, I don't know, like more or less something you feel as much as you hear.
And you do get a little bit of bass work in Baptismal Tomb. There's a jam kind of on the end of there where you still get all the instruments, but the bass really shines. And he's got probably like 4 or 5 measures of just like this almost like wheedly wah for bass.
It's kind of cool. It's a real interesting break. Like it kind of shifts to like a shitty, creepy fucking dive bar in fucking hell where they got some demonic jazz band playing. And this is one of the only session members on here, Brennan Sloan of Altars, playing bass. And he does a really good job. And honestly, this is the only moment I could really say that the bass playing absolutely shines, because there's a sort of open area for it to shine. Because again, a lot of this is suffocating. But when it comes down to the quieter moments, not only are they as fucking creepy and unsettling as the heavier moments, but they're just very odd. Again, unsettling. Like you get that little like kind of quiet break before the jump scare. Suffering Beyond Death has another section that is, again, like kind of like dissonant, atonal, seedy lounge music, and then right back into like blasts and chugs and all the things that make this insanely fucking heavy once again.
Now, when this album breaks away from just the droning to make it heavy and like the blasts and it lets things open up, it really opens up with Tofbefell. I think that's how you say it. I have no idea.
I've never seen that word in my life.
I've never seen that word either. It has a lot of Godflesh vibes. Dude, it's just like a really kind of straightforward performance on the drums. I don't even want to say D-beat, because it sounds like he's hitting everything together. It's just bop, bop,
it's
bop,
a stomp.
Bop, bop.
It's a stomp. You have a more droning riff, again accompanied by like some dissonant creepiness behind it. The vocals move up a register. They're more of a shout. And you add samples, like there's like loops of people saying something in German. It really doesn't matter what they're saying, because if you say anything in German with this filter on, it's gonna sound creepy. And of course they, intermingle laughter in there, which, who knows, it might have been just like a couple of German people at a fucking restaurant telling jokes and it was all pleasant and not evil as shit, but I don't believe that for a second. It sounds creepy. But when you add that sort of layer, that stomping rhythm, and it's a little bit more simple and stripped down and just kind of go for the throat heavy, it definitely reminds me of Godflesh. Like, it's just kind of minimalist and ugly and unsettling.
And then Obliterated Shrine kind of does the same thing. Not necessarily with that driving beat, but this whole song, at least the first couple minutes of it, are just like breakdown speed.
It's pretty much the equivalent of, blasting the slowest, heaviest Meshuggah songs you can think of and watching Hellraiser at the same time. It's slow, brooding, creepy, and again, it kind of opens up. Like the spaces in between the chugs are as creepy as everything else. Add the vocals on top, which sometimes take on the rhythm of almost like a chant. And again, chanting and droning and all this caustic atmosphere really kind of adds to the creep factor in here, which, I mean, your band's called Nightmare. It better induce some fucking nightmares. I better not sleep tonight, otherwise I'm going to be really fucking disappointed.
Hey, I better not sleep tonight, maybe tomorrow.
And that kind of segues into some issues we kind of had with this. The first 2 tracks in here, Brutalist Imperator and Baptismal Tomb, both are very blast heavy with like intermittent sections of like, big heavy chugs. You get some breakdowns in them, of course. You get that weird little jazzy interlude. But honestly, when this album is blasting, I feel like you kind of lose a little because it starts kind of droning together. And while the production here, I think, is really, really well done, there's a lot of layers of sound to be accounted for, and you kind of lose some of it. When it slows down, this album is beyond heavy and beyond creepy. And you don't get that until like a little bit later with, songs like Throw of Illicit Withdrawal or Suffering Beyond Death, which are both very bright, sunshiny song titles. You kind of lose a little bit while this band is blasting. And as much as I love blast beats, I feel like that more mid-pace sound is where they're strongest, especially Tofbefell or whatever that is. That song is a giant standout. Not only does it have a unique rhythm to it on the album, it stands out because I think this is probably one of the first ones where I think the dissonant riffs in the background actually contribute the song more than just, on atmosphere. Like, there's a melody to it that really stands out. A lot of the dissonant melodies are kind of just like background noise. Like they're weird little tags at the end of riffs, or it's just kind of droning in the background, which again contributes to the atmosphere, but not much to like memorable riffs.
Yeah, it's weird because, I'm a big blast beat fan too, but it's odd to say that a blast beat in a part of a song kind of kills the momentum. It does in a way. Like, it makes it sound like just, you go from these big old nasty chugs and drones to insanity, and it pops in such weird places, like where it kind of like kills the groove, because a lot of groove for this album is found in the slower, more like odd parts.
Yeah.
In these more odd time signatures, that's where you get it. But then you kill the groove of the blast beat. Not to say it's not done well. Paul Seidel's a hell of a fucking drummer.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily fit the vibe of the album.
And speaking of like not fitting, I mean, while I like that weird jazzy breakdown in Baptismal Tomb, it's kind of the only moment like that on here. And again, it's the only moment where the bass actually shines, because the rest of the time it's, it's just contributing to the heaviness. That moment is really cool, but it's just sort of like a really odd transition, and then it kind of just goes right back to just beating your skull in with a hammer. But you also have a couple of interlude tracks on here that are, well, really good at transitioning to the next track. I will definitely say that. Tombs, spelled Tooms, and End Stadium, both are excellent in terms of like setting up the next song and sort of contributing more to the atmosphere, as if this album needed more atmosphere. It's already haunting with just the songs. But I feel like, at least with End Stadium, it could have just been the beginning of Obliterated Shrine.
Correct. And it was, because it bled into Obliterated Shrine, but it could have been a great setup to that song, especially with how nasty that song is.
Ugh.
Yeah, so End Stadium I thought maybe could have been just tagged on.
But overall, as weird as it sounds, this was a very enjoyable listen. This is as dark and twisted as I expected it to be, and again, I'm a pretty big fan of Cacophony of Terror. I think that album is, again, decidedly unsettling, but again, like not quite Portal, because it's actually kind of catchy, and Portal's Portal. I'm still kind of working on that band. But overall, I'm going to give us 3.5 stars. I dug this for the most part. Like, the atmosphere is thoroughly unsettling, but you're also greeted to some really cool songwriting. I love the vocals in here. The vocals add so much horror to an already terrifying sound. I do think when this band slows down, they are at their best, because like all the layers really come into play really well, especially on Tough FL or whatever that is. I love that song. I mean, I'm a Godflesh fan, so that one really resonated with me. It was almost kind of like the most vile, evil version of Killing Joke I've ever heard. It's got a great fucking hook to it. And Suffering Beyond Death might have some of the heaviest breakdowns I've heard this year. I know we say that a lot. I think we said that in a review this week already. But I shit you not, it's ridiculously heavy. Like, this is an album that you can feel as well as listen to. Again, if you're big fans of, Portal, I would say that too, but also like Ulcerate, Meshuggah, maybe even some Gorguts, especially like later Gorguts. Definitely check this out. It will keep you up at night.
It's a 3.5 for me as well. Now, first I want to say I've been a gigantic fan of this band since I found them with Cacophony of Terror. As all of you know, I'm a huge fan of Chug and Dissonance and things like that, but I say all the time.
They didn't have a clue.
This band probably does both those things the best. If they're one of the best, if not the best, at droning jugs. It's nightmarish. It's no wonder that they're called Nightmare. It's nightmarish. There's no hope here. This is void of light. It is dark as fuck, like pitch fucking black. And heavy certainly doesn't even begin to describe most of this record. Nightmare, when they groove, they're so fucking good at it. And this, I think, was more about just droning fucking dissonance. And while I like those things, it was odd to see the groove kind of missing from this record. Now, it is in songs like Top of Hell, Obliterated Shrine, the breakdown in Throw of Illicit Withdrawal. Like, there's still groove, it's just not groove-centric. And that was something that I really came to enjoy for Nightmare. But overall, I still can't knock this album. It's absolutely disgusting, which for metal is a term you want to hear. Yeah, I found it to be just straight up sufferingly fucking heavy, and that's what I love the most about it. This is a great fucking album. If you're a fan of Godflesh, if you're a fan of Portal, if you're a fan of Ulcerate or Meshuggah or any of the other gross fucking gnarly breakdown bands you can think of, yeah, Nightmare, Deformity Adrift, go check it out, go buy it. Maybe buy a t-shirt. I pre-ordered. It should be coming any day now.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our store is there as well. We will be loading up on some stuff, but of course, we're still sorting out what we're going to load up on.
Using the thinky parts to put some things on a shirt or maybe some grenades.
And you know how much we like to use our thinky parts here.
Thinky brain?
Yes. We also have a giveaway going on. When we hit 15K, we are going to give away 10 CDs. There is a video link down below. It is also playing automatically on our channel. And yeah, 15K subscribers. Surreal fucking number. And it's just amazing doing this and getting the response that we've gotten. Thank you guys so fucking much.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm still fucking blown away by it.
I tell you what, I'm beside myself. I remember when we started this channel and we thought, like, all right, let's just try it out. If anything, our friends will subscribe. It'll be something we can do. And now it's become, pretty much a full-time job. Like, I can't believe that this is a thing. And I can't believe I'm saying with my own mouth 15,000 subscribers, because to me that's kind of unfathomable.
Who else's mouth would you say that with?
I mean, just my own.
Okay.
No one else's mouth. This mouth.
I think he'd say it with other people's mouths.
I wouldn't. That's gross.
I think you would.
You're fucking gross.
I think you would.
Get out.
Fucking weirdo.
Get out. Get out of your own house.
No.
You fucking gross fucker.
You saying that with your own mouth?
Anyway, thank you all so much for continually showing up and watching these videos and commenting and doing all the things you do to make this worthwhile for the both of us. It's become a huge part of our lives, and we are extremely thankful for all of you. And with that, we will catch you later.